I'm live. Yeah, there we go. We're having a little bit of trouble here. I don't think I'm streaming on Instagram. Doing this today for the first time without any help here, so bear with me. Let me see if I can get this Instagram thing going while Rob waits. And this is the first day I'm without Eric, guys. I'll get to that in a little bit. But I'm going to copy this stream key, and I think I just go live, right? Connect streaming software to go live. Okay, we're just not going to go live on Instagram today. No big deal. We'll just start here with Substack. And hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining the show. I'm Nick Valencia, host of Nick Valencia Live, and we have a big show today. We are back from Mexico City, back from our travels, and I guess I should start with the news here that I am a team of one, I guess two now. My wife is still involved. Eric Sandoval, the longtime executive producer, the person that's been with us sort of since the start of this all, he is moving on. And I am here rocking this solo. So if you see any hiccups today, or if you notice things moving a little differently, it's that. And I had this, I think it's the band Oasis, right? That line, every new beginning comes from another beginning's end, and that's kind of where we're at now here. So I wanted to start just with some latest details here. We have a big show lined up. We've got Rob Held, immigration attorney. You guys might be familiar with some of his stuff if you watched us on our platform. You may be familiar with his work outside of the Broadview detention facility. We'll get to him in just a little bit. We also have on the schedule here later today is Mona Diop, I believe her name is Diop, Mona Diop, and she is the mother of Ibrahim Diallo. And it was back in November that we first brought you the story here on Nick Valencia News of Ibrahim, who is detained. He's currently detained in Georgia, and he was detained in Roswell here in Georgia. I don't know if he's still in Georgia. I should strike that. But he has sickle cell disease, and he has been very desperately trying to get the appropriate care. And one of the through lines and sort of repeating stories that we've heard from people all across the country is just this lack of access to basic medical care. We've even heard stories like out of California City with people who have been detained who have said that they were told by the doctors or medical staff there at the detention facilities that they would get the care they needed if they only self-deported or if they sent themselves back to where they were from. So we're going to get in a little bit with her, Mona Joseph from Texas, where she is right now. And then later on in the show, we have Luis Betancourt. And if you guys were watching our social media, you may have seen the video that we posted yesterday. I'm going to play it here. It's just so tragic. I'm going to play this here, and we'll talk about it on the other side here.
Okay. See identification, please. I'm looking for somebody that's in the same vehicle. Okay. So I need to identify you guys.
I'm gonna step out. I'm not gonna do anything.
No. Stay in the car for now, please. Thank you. We'll make you as comfortable as we can. Okay. Listen, do you have any kids here? No. No.
Wait, where are you guys taking him? Hey, can I at least know where you're taking him? Who can I call?
We're gonna take him to the Charlotte Immigration Office. It's on Tyvola. Okay. There's no visitation there, so I wouldn't waste your time.
So what do I do? Like, wait, can I say goodbye at least?
Give me a second. Give me a second.
Louis, give us a second for right now, okay? We'll give you a second.
Yup.
That was Luis and his partner, Oscar. They were detained on Wednesday. And as of Monday, even though he has a medical condition, he hasn't seen the doctor. He was in a car accident recently, and he suffers from back pain. And he also has some fluid that builds up in his heart. I forget the name of the condition. His partner will tell us all about that later on in the show. But just, terrible. And it really shines a light on an example of how even though the feds, Tom Homan, he said Metro Surge is over in Minneapolis. And previously we heard Greg Bovino, the former commander of the U.S. Border Patrol, he had said that Charlotte's Web was over. And so you have this idea from the public and even those that live in the area that they are safer. But you saw that video there, raid's still going on. So we'll get into all of that here. But I wanted to start with our next guest, Rob Held. He's an immigration attorney. And I mentioned that you might recognize him here. I'm going to play a clip from last fall. I think it was either October or November, where he was outside the Broadview detention facility. What I love about this clip is not just that you get a snapshot of who Rob is, but he had no idea he was being recorded. This really is who he is and how he carries himself. Take a look at his work here.
Understand what state law you are invoking. Please be clear in your instructions. These peaceful protesters are
Let's try that one more time.
First Amendment right. They do not understand your order. They do not understand your statements. You, state troopers, are an unlawful assembly right now because you're impinging on our First Amendment right to free expression. We do not understand your instructions. You have weapons. We do not have weapons. You are invoking, you appear to be threatening violence. We're not threatening violence. You are exacerbating the tension. We are lowering the tension. We don't understand what you're doing. We don't understand why you're doing it. We don't understand how to comply with your orders. You said to disperse. Where do you want us to go? Why can't we exercise our First Amendment rights? Where is the Commander Owen or State Trooper Owen? Where are you? You need to be clear. You need to explain. You do not understand what state law you are invoking.
That was Rob Held here, and he joins us now live on Nick Valencia Live. I'm going to bring you in here. Let's. There you are, Rob. How are you, man? What's it like
I'm
watching
doing
that
great.
clip all over again?
Well, I think back on that protest and, there were people dancing. They were, singing Sweet Caroline. It was just a protest where the police literally were, as I said, exacerbating the tension.
Yeah, I mean, they were ratcheting it up, and here you are, you go viral, you are now meeting the moment, and you're using your resources, your platform, really to be where you found yourself, right in the middle of this resistance movement. I don't want to speak for you or put in your own words, so tell me where you see your role now in this, now with this sort of newfound new media celebrity that you have.
Well, I'm to be honest, I'm struggling every day. I'm upset, I'm depressed, I'm frustrated because I had this idea, and I'm not 19 years old, but I have this naivety, if you will, an optimism that we can turn the government around. And that's what I want to do. And I see that despite, this platform, so to speak, that I have as small as it is, or, ineffective as it is, I'm going to say, the government isn't turning around. I saw Kristi Noem this morning testifying before the Senate committee hearing. And, we may get to it, but Senator Durbin, the first Democrat to question her, raised up Camp East Montana. And so, I won't get too far ahead of us, but the short answer to your question is I have the same energy that I had back in September when, the Border Patrol came into the Chicago area, but I am less optimistic, if you will. And I think it's just going to take more people and bigger voices and a greater diligence and determination to turn the administration around.
You talked about Camp East Montana, and I mean, we might as well get there here. I brought you on in part because of what happened over the weekend. And those who are watching, you might have recognized Rob from the trip that we went on to El Paso last weekend. It was a little over a week ago now. And tell us about what happened. You went back in and they told you that you're now banned because of us going inside. So no one, to be clear, has reached out to me yet. I haven't followed up, but I want to hear what they told you when you showed back up to the detention center.
Right. So just to be perfectly factual, we were there roughly 9 days ago or so. And I went back, 3 days ago. And this past weekend, this immediate past weekend, went back to the facility. I am an attorney. I have a G-28 on file. That's the formal document that the government uses to know who represents which detainees. And went up to the facility and they told me that I was banned, that I couldn't come in. And after some phone calls and further explanations, I got to talk to the warden of Camp East Montana in El Paso, Texas, face to face. He came out and he said that you brought Nick Valencia into the facility and he is a journalist and you're both banned. I ultimately asked how long, and he said indefinitely.
I mean, what was his tone? Was he upset? How did they present themselves to you?
Businesslike. He was professional, but resolute. He definitely had, his six. Normally, there's 2 or 3 guards at the gate. By the time he came out, there were at least six guards, multiple vehicles. They're all armed. I'm not intimidated, but the fact is that he has, just like Gregory Bovino used to walk around with the armed federal agents. So he had that armament next to him, so to speak. And so he was just resolute. You are banned. You have to leave. and you brought a journalist in. I insisted, by the way, Nick, I insisted that I brought you in as an interpreter, and I acknowledge that you're also a journalist, but the fact is that my Spanish is insufficient to communicate effectively, and I brought you in order to interpret.
And to speak for myself, I didn't ask any questions. I, just basically stuck to what you were asking your client and interpreting what she was telling you back. And so if they would have asked me, I would have been clear about who I was. I think at one point I thought perhaps like that they may have thought who I was and were maybe looking at our social media. If they did figure it out, they didn't really say anything, and they didn't say anything at all in the moment. So, and I'm also surprised it took them so long. I wasn't deceptive about who I was. I used my full name, my identification. I'm a public figure. I'm out there. And so what does this mean to you that they are banning journalists, they're banning attorneys from going into Camp East Montana?
Well, Nick, let's cut to the chase. There may be viewers and listeners that don't know that there were 3 deaths at Camp East Montana in late December and through into January. In Texas, there were 6 deaths. At Camp East Montana, there were 3 deaths, all in the span of 6 weeks. And one of them, the coroner or the local health authority ruled a homicide.
Yeah.
And again, just facts. The individual, whose name is Geraldo Lunas Campos, after he died, the government was silent for 7 days. They said nothing. After 7 days, they said that he was in medical distress. That was a lie, Nick, because the health authorities ruled it a homicide, not medical distress. And I'm going to be blunt. If you put your hands on another person and you choke that person, and it's not necessary to choke that person, then we call that murder.
I can't think of what circumstances it is okay to choke a person unless you're fighting back for your life, right? I mean, the fact that there was signs of strangulation should appall us all, not just Democrats, not just progressives, but anyone who cares about human life, So,
I mean, what's going on is that the government and the Department of Homeland Security and that facility in particular, but we can talk about other facilities too. I call them facilities. Some people call them concentration camps. They're the detention centers. They're where 70,000 immigrants are being held against their will. The truth is that they don't want transparency. They're avoiding accountability and any effort to expose what's going on there, such as the report that you made, 9 days ago or so, is something that they're trying to suppress. Let's be blunt.
Let's be blunt. And the fact is that it takes a long time, if at all, for any of these requests to be granted by ICE. We have been doing a report on the private prison infrastructure, and I reached out way back when to the Wynn Correctional Center in Wynn Parish, Louisiana. And it operates much like corporate America does, where you send in a request and the upper management denies it and the middle management carries out the order. And there's this disconnect between the request and the person at the top. ICE doesn't allow journalists to go in. And if they do, these places are sanitized and they're cleaned up. No one is, I think, with any sort of logic or rational thinking, no one should believe that they're being treated properly inside. Just this idea that they are being denied medication on the basic level flies in the face of the constitutional rights that they have there. Are they beating these inmates? I don't know. They won't let us in. I doubt they are, but the fact is they won't let us in to see. And so when I get the opportunity to go in as an interpreter, as a translator, I'm going to take that opportunity, and now after the fact, here they are saying, you can't go in, you can't have contact with your client. Can they do that? Is that possible?
Well, like everything else the government is doing, they have the position, they have the guns, they have, the ability. For example, at Camp East Montana, I mean, I don't have a gun. I don't have any independent authority to say you're wrong. So it's essentially when the government takes action that we disagree with, the recourse is to go to court, or the recourse is to just have public opinion put substantial pressure, or have a elected representative put substantial pressure.
Yeah.
But, you know, we can talk about what works and what doesn't work. There are hundreds and hundreds of lawsuits pending around the country. And people have asked me, have said, why don't you go to court and turn that around? And, you know, maybe that is one answer. I'm hoping that they just recognize that they can't prevent an attorney from seeing their client. But can I just echo what you said about what's going on in some of these detention centers? In Broadview, there were allegations of inhumane treatment, and they were credible, substantiated, firsthand allegations. In fact, in the lawsuit I'm talking about, with respect to Broadview, Illinois, I had provided an affidavit in support. Again, not to go down a rabbit hole, but I had been detained by Border Patrol back in late September.
Yeah.
That lawsuit, but my point is that lawsuit proceeded, and the judge issued a temporary restraining order because the conditions for the detainees were inhumane. But eventually, a judge went to visit Broadview, the facility outside of Chicago, and just before she got there, they took everybody out. So is that transparency? No. And I spoke to, in person, one of the individuals who was in the facility with the judge, and he said it smelled like bleach.
Yeah.
There were, I think he said there were 2 detainees present. There had been hundreds in a small facility, and he said it smelled like bleach. So that says it all.
That's the MO of this administration. I talked to you, you know, when we were together in El Paso, that I had been in to the Border Patrol facilities where, you know, the families that were separated, that were impacted by family separation 1.0. And I remember going in, and it smelled exactly like Clorox bleach. This may be getting so into the weeds, but it's a personal anecdote. I lived in Spain, in Bilbao, and every morning the morning sort of sanitation workers would clean off the streets, and they would bleach them and then scrub them down. And, you know, senses are tied to memories. And that's the memory that I had going in, is like the sanitation workers in Spain bleaching the streets, because that's exactly what, and I forget what Border Patrol station I was in, but it was, you know, where the kids in cages were, and they were kenneled in. And there weren't the high capacity or high velocity number of migrants that we were told were inside, which were in the hundreds. I mean, they were being packed in there like sardines. And so you think, Representative Veronica Escobar, how many times has she been denied going in there? And now they're just flat out banning people. I mean, I need to follow up. I wanted to have this conversation. KFOX had reached out to me. They're the local station in El Paso, to, you know, get my take on it. I didn't know what to tell them because I hadn't spoken to anyone. But it does really, you know, it strains common sense to think that they're not hiding something inside. We didn't even really get all the way in. Do you want to just describe to people that are watching what it is, your takeaways, and what it is you saw inside?
Sure. I mean, there's 5 levels of security before you can even get to, you know, to speak to a detainee, to speak to my client.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a quarter mile away, a mile away, they have electronic monitoring equipment where they apparently are able to electronically monitor my phone. And then a quarter mile away, there's a guard post. And then you go through where your credentials are examined, brought to a metal detector, and then 2 more guards. And finally, you get to a conference area. The conference area is not the living area. It's not where they, you know, can eat and sleep and shower and so forth. It's literally just a conference area that's separate and apart from the main portion of the facility.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then the attorneys that go in there with their translators or interpreters, they're allowed to physically see their clients. And then there's a separate area that family and family friends are sort of positioned in. You know, you've been in there how many times at this point?
Yeah, I've been, 5 times, and the 6th time I was denied entry. But you make a good point. My client indicated that, when you came with me, that you and I were the only people that she has seen in perhaps 4.5 months or so, other than a guard and fellow detainees. So that contact with the outside world and that physical contact, because I was able to hug her, is something that on a human level is just so important. And in some of the debates that you hear and people talking about the worst of the worst and the theoretical debates that people have, what we lose is the humanity, the physical touching that, you know, she was able to experience. by us being able to hug, it's important.
That goes a long way, human connection, you know, just being able to like physically, I don't know, embrace, have something, you know. I think about like my kids, right? I mean, all they need is some warmth and love and attention, cariño, you know, and like to just be denied that. I mean, that to think about what that does to one's psychology. I know what that does, you know. I mean, it cuts you off from the human world. It makes you think that you're not human. You start internalizing all of that stuff, man. You know, I mean, I if I think about it long enough, I think I'd get teary-eyed. What do you do now with your client, Rob? Like, what can you talk to her? Do you have to communicate with another attorney? What happens next?
Well, you know, I'm the third attorney. You know, I don't actually practice immigration law. I'm an advocate. I'm an attorney. I practice in an unrelated area of the law, but there are two other attorneys that represent her. So, and I've been in touch, you know, in person with her daughter. You know, she's got a family, but you know, I want to come back to this human element.
Yeah.
And that, you know, people talk about numbers. Oh, there's 70,000 people being detained, and you know, 70% of those 70,000 have never committed a crime. But turning that around, every single individual has family. They have children, sometimes minor children. Some cases they have special needs children. They have siblings and parents and cousins, and you know, these families are being torn apart. And what is missing sometimes, and you know, we need to debate policy and you know what Congress is going to do. And you mentioned Representative Escobar, who's down in Texas and doing a phenomenal job. And she called for the closure of Camp East Montana, by the way. But to the main theme here is that we can't lose sight of they're real people, they're real families, and they're being torn apart. And the effect, the stain, you know, on our country and the effect on the psyche of this generation is something that we won't know about for years and years.
Yeah, it ripples across, you know. I mean, you're not Latino, you're somebody who is an ally, would be considered an ally, and it's impacting you. You know, you're talking about what you see and what you hear and all those challenges that you face out there, literally coming face to face with fascism. Why do you do what you do? What inspires you?
Well, I've always just really emotionally reacted to injustice in whatever form that takes. It motivated me to go to law school, and maybe it's, you know, a motivation for my very persona. But when I saw Midway Blitz, that's the Border Patrol's operation in Chicago that began after Labor Day in September, and I saw, you know, Border Patrol like firing guns on unarmed, peaceful protesters, storming into neighborhoods with tear gas and rubber bullets and pepper balls. It just like stirred something inside me where I have to stand up. I have to do something, because there are many immigrants and citizens alike that maybe their voice is not as powerful. Maybe they're not articulate. Maybe they, you know, don't want to take the risk, if you will, of standing up to this administration. So I feel like it's a calling right now. It just tears at my conscience every single day. And I want to do more than what I'm doing.
What are the risks?
Well, my family has advised me not to articulate the risks because they feel like it's telegraphing to the administration how they can retaliate. So
it's like it used to be like being out there in the public eye would save you, but it's almost like, I mean, I think of Don Lemon, you know, I mean, I think of exactly, they went after him because they knew it was going to make a splash, in part. I'm sure they had other ways to justify it, but you know, this really is so much so of an optics type administration. So it would, I mean, you would think normally under normal times, someone like you who is popular on social media may not necessarily be targeted or singled out. But now under this administration, you know, everyone can get it. You know, it's kind of like that, you know, so there is definitely fear and anxiety that I'm sure you must feel, but yet you're doing it anyway. You're flying across the country, you know, in full disclosure, you flew me from Atlanta to El Paso using your own resources, but you continue to do this and show up despite the risks. I want to tug at that thread a little bit more.
Well, you know, in terms of the risk, I mean, you only have to look at, and again, I don't put myself in any category like this, but I only do this as an illustration. The former director of the FBI was arrested. He was targeted. He had an IRS audit. I mean, I'm talking about Comey.
Yeah.
And so you recall that someone with that kind of power and, authority as a former director of the FBI was subjected to an IRS audit. I think he a refund after the audit, like the audit didn't generate any money for the Treasury. And it was the ridiculous charges that were brought against him that ultimately, I think, a judge dismissed. But so you have that kind of retaliation. And again, I'm not anywhere in that kind of a category, and I don't mean to make an analogy in that way, but just to say that the power of the administration, the power of the Department of Justice, look, they went after Georgia Fort. We think about Don Lemon. Well, she's an attorney. Her name is not as well known as his, but she's indicted also. So you've got the administration that has the resources, the gumption, and the audacity to retaliate against people. Look, I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time on that because the fact is that we all have our own risk tolerance. And it's, in my view, everybody should do what they're comfortable with. Yeah. I'm comfortable with a bullhorn and standing up to anybody. I don't care if they have guns. I'm comfortable in that setting. That's my environment. I live, for that confrontation, so to speak. And other people may be comfortable just talking to their neighbor or being informed by shows like yours and journalists like you, Nick, that tell people really what's going on in America right now without a filter, without any sort of corporate hierarchy to tell you what you do or say or what stories you have to cover.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone who's watching this live and whoever is watching it on replay and watching it on Spotify, all across platforms. I mean, it's just so cool to be able to come out here and do this. So thank you for saying that. I want to pivot to Kristi Noem. You have the gumption and the fearlessness to go out and stand in front of Camp East Montana and say, fuck you, Kristi Noem. I love your passion and your energy, man. She's testifying in front of lawmakers today. You talked about watching her and her testimony. You talked about Dick Durbin. I was surprised at Senator Kennedy going after her and saying, hey, you mislabeled Alex Priddy and Renee Good as domestic terrorists. What were some of your takeaways from watching? Because I know you have some feelings about our Department of Homeland Security sector.
Yeah, so I still have a law practice, and I only got to watch a few minutes of Kristi Noem, but even from a few minutes of getting to see my senator in Illinois, question her and raise up Camp East Montana and mention Geraldo Lunas Campos, the individual that died by homicide at Camp East Montana just a month ago, on national television and to Kristi Noem's face was really gratifying. Her responses, I mean, we don't have to dignify what she's doing. She's a puppet for the administration. She's unqualified to be in the position she's in. It's shameful that we have the kind of people being appointed to the roles that they're playing in this administration. And I'm just hopeful that everybody comes out to vote in the fall because, you asked about things that can be done now. I mean, there are many people who will show up at a protest, and those numbers matter. And I think the more people that can show up, the more people that can speak out, the more people that can stand up, contact their representatives, talk to their neighbors, pay attention to independent journalists like yourself, just that rising up, that resistance that we're seeing is, actually does, give me strength despite my overall depression, so to speak, about the state of where we are right now.
For struggling with that, you do a great job at lifting up others around you, Rob. I want to give you the floor now for anything that you haven't been asked, anything that you want to talk about, anything you wish I would have asked you. The time is yours now.
Well, you're very kind and you're very generous in your description of me. I'm just one person. And sure, I've got, a little bit of a following on social media. And I've got, sort of the motivation, if you will, to speak up and to stand up. But there's protests all across the country. There are detention centers everywhere. I mean, Texas is the largest with, I think they have over 20 different detention centers. There's 3,000 people alone in Camp East Montana. I hope that if nothing else, what people can come away from is that, you know, somewhere inside of us, we all have a conscience. We all have a line. And yes, you can say the government is trying to deport the worst of the worst. I can acknowledge that there are some very bad people, Tren de Aragua members and so forth, that have committed horrific crimes and that need to be arrested and given due process and either, you know, put in prison or deported one way or the other. But the majority of what the Department of Homeland Security is doing is terrorizing neighborhoods and people that have never committed a crime. And I hope that everybody with a conscience can just think about their inner self and how they would want their child, their sibling, their spouse, their parent to be treated. And due process is a word that maybe doesn't resonate with people, but it means that you get to go before a judge. It means that you get to talk to a lawyer. It means that you get to understand what is happening and why it's happening. And it means that the government itself should follow the law. So you gave me the floor for a minute, and I'll conclude by saying that everybody with a conscience needs to do something. Please think about what you can do, and please do something if you are offended or worse by what the administration is doing to the immigration community.
Amen. Rob Held, how can we follow you? How can people keep up with what you're doing?
Oh, I mean, you know, follow the news, follow Nick Valencia. I'm on Rob Held 1 on Instagram, but again, there's so much information out there. Just try to stay informed.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob, so much for taking the time with us, man. I'll call you later. I really appreciate you coming on the show, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. So great to be here. Thanks again.
You got it. That was Rob Held. Man, I'm going to call him a friend. He is my friend now. He really, God, what a gem of a human being. I really, really enjoyed our time together in El Paso and telling his story. We are going to be joined here in just a little bit by Mona. Let me reach out to her and see where she's at. This is kind of where I'm at now that I'm solo. I've got to do this stuff, but I'm sure you guys don't mind. Hey, Mona. And then while we're waiting, I thought I would play some of our reporting here from El Paso. Breaking news out of El Paso, where according to the El Paso Times, there is a measles outbreak in Camp East Montana. This is really serious news here, and it comes after our visit where we reported out, according to detainees, that there was a red rash that was spotted on several women that was spreading and seemed to be contagious. It was painful, and it was all over the bodies of several detainees. Public health officials will tell you that measles is the most contagious viral infection, and the most extreme cases it can be deadly, especially among communities that are unvaccinated. The power of journalism is real, and so is this guy right here. Rob Held is the person who I went in with to the facility, and he says that he was banned for this report that I did. He was banned from entering the facility because he brought in a journalist. Well, this journalist reported out what I saw inside, and because of that, now there is a reported measles outbreak. 13 people have been diagnosed with this, at least so far. The facility is on quarantine. They're not letting journalists in now. According to Rob, I've been banned from the facility. We've heard from Representative Veronica Escobar how difficult it's been for her to get in. It begs the question with all of this, after we saw what we saw and reported out what we did, what the hell else is going on inside behind closed doors? So let me do that while we're waiting here. If you guys after he found out that he was banned. Rob was just on a short time ago, and he is very animated, man. He is a personality. Check out his report after he found out that he was banned from Camp East Montana.
Banned me from going inside this facility to see my client. They told me that because the last time I came here, I took a translator, an interpreter, who was also a journalist, and that journalist reported what he saw and heard. We are both banned indefinitely. If there was nothing to hide here, they wouldn't be blocking journalists and lawyers from getting inside and seeing what's happening. This is Camp East Montana. People held here, including my client and many others, have never committed a crime, and yet they're held in this hellhole where the government is trying to block access and accountability. They're doing everything they can to avoid scrutiny, including from our elected representatives. ICE and the contractors run for profit use a network of detention centers across the country. If you don't think this is right, if you think that there should be transparency and accountability, tag this, forward it, send it to your elected representatives, share it, and follow me.
All right, and let me show you the report that I did. That was the report in question, which they were so furious about here. Let me pull that up for you guys. And if you guys are just tuning in and catching up, Rob Held, he was the immigration attorney that invited us with him into Camp East Montana to act as a translator, an interpreter for his conversation with his client. We did no reporting there on our own. We simply relayed the questions and answers between an attorney and their client. And then after I came out, I talked about what I saw. This is that report that I posted on social media. We're in El Paso, Texas, and I was just inside the Camp East Montana here, which is a facility that's popped up in El Paso. And I was able to go inside and talk to one of those people that was detained. What she told me was just absolutely horrible. They have rashes all over their bodies, including their genitals, and they're not quite sure why. Multiple people have them in there. Several of the women in her quarters have them all over their skin, from their feet, all over their bodies, including their genitals. And she's worried about getting it herself. She's worried about it being contagious. It's spreading inside. She told us as well that they are getting medical care when they finally are taken to the doctor. She says she had somebody in her quarters. There's about 35 people in one room, another 30 in another. They have their beds in there. They have their where they eat in there. And she said somebody that she knows tried to get in touch with the doctor. It took them 2 days to be seen. She has dropped 25 pounds in the last 5 months since she's been inside, and she was just grateful for some human interaction. She said that myself and the person I went inside with were the first 2 people that she had seen in months, and the only people that she had seen other than those that are inside here. And I just want to give you guys an update about what we just saw inside. We're putting a story together, much more, but those are some horrific details that we're just learning here for ourselves in person. So that was the report that did it. We believe that that outbreak, it may be measles, it may be scabies. I'm not quite sure. We haven't heard anything from the requests that we've put in to figure out what exactly they're dealing with there. The detainees are just told it's some sort of fungal outbreak and fungal infection. So that's the details that are being hidden from the public. After our report aired, Representative Veronica Escobar, within a day of our reports airing on local news, here we go. Maybe Mona Diop is going to. All right, brother, I'm coming to you next. Here we go. All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Luis, okay, great. Luis, thank you so much, man, for taking the time. And let me turn those comments off and see if I can do it this way. Okay. Thank you very much for joining us early. And we have Mona. She also just joined. She'll come in right afterwards. But Luis, if you just start by telling me what happened and what you know about the whereabouts of where Oscar is right now, and if he's seen a doctor yet.
Yeah, so I guess I can start from the beginning. First of all, my name is Luis. Thank you for everybody who's out there watching and who has been supporting. It really does mean a lot, especially to you, Nick, that you reached out to me personally and have been showing your support. But basically, how it played out is me and my now fiance were on our way to work, and it was an atypical morning. No thoughts in our mind that ICE was going to stop us or anything. But maybe like 4 or 5 minutes down the road, while we were in the highway, we saw what appeared to be cop car lights just flashing over the view. In the moment, we didn't really think about it because as anybody else would do, you would pull over when you see blue lights, assuming that you're getting pulled over by a cop. So as soon as we pulled over to the side, not even 5 seconds went by, and 4 additional cars just surrounded my vehicle and kind of boxed me in towards the street, and then maybe 10 individuals hopped out and went on both sides of our windows, you know, asking, well, their pretense was that they were looking for somebody with the same car description as mine, who they were just looking for somebody who was driving the exact same car as I was. And at the time, Oscar was the one who was driving. So, you know, I provided my ID, which I had only a picture of on my phone. So, you know, I'm showing the officer next to me, this is my ID. They're questioning Oscar, you know, asking him his legal status, where he's from, like stuff like that, you know. And the whole time, like, the dude's badgering me with questions. Again, I'm not worried like about like my legal status. Like, I knew that it was ICE. I knew that it was like the immigration enforcement. Like, I didn't want to waste any time. I was trying to focus on him because I knew his legal status was still pending. So I was trying to get as much information from what he was asking him from that side. But um, they just asked for his first name, first and last name, and his date of birth. Mind you, Oscar has 4 legal names, and his application and system is all 4 legal names. They went to the back of my vehicle for maybe 2-3 minutes, discussed with him themselves. I don't know what. Came back to Oscar's side and told him that he needed to step out the vehicle and he was being detained for unlawful presence in the United States. That he had no legal status here and that his application was also denied. So
One of the things
I'm
that
not
surprised me
sure
was that
what.
it didn't seem like they were looking for you. They just sort of took advantage of the situation and took somebody into custody once they realized they were not here legally.
Yeah, that's kind of what it seemed like to me. You know, like, again, like I'm all for a safe America. I'm all for a safe Charlotte. I'm all for like a safe, like, you know, like keeping our streets safe. But I just don't I just don't understand. Like, Oscar has been here his whole life. You know, he's been, oh, sorry, not his whole life. Excuse me. He's been here for 24 years of his life, for
I mean,
majority of his
basically,
life.
right? He got here when he was 2.
He was brought here when he was 2. Yes, so it's like, to me, the fact that they are linking him as a criminal because he came to the United States at the age of 2, mind you. I mean, last time I spoke to a 2-year-old, they can barely make a sentence, you know? It's not like his mom said, "Hey, we're going to this country, you're coming with me, do you consent?" You know, like, to me, it's just, it baffles me. If that's what they're linking him to be a criminal, that's just that doesn't make any sense to me. And the fact that he's doing it the right way, he has an application in the system, a pending application, mind you. It's not that it was either denied or approved. So just all these like factors at play just kind of shows you that these people don't don't follow the law. They consider themselves above the law. You know, like, there's a way to go about these things. You know, again, I'm not saying that, you know, maybe there are dangerous people out there that ICE needs to focus on. You know, people like to always bring up Obama. They say that Obama deported all these millions of people, and I'm just like, you know, Obama was focused on the criminals. Obama was actually targeting the people who were here less than what, a certain amount of time. Like, Oscar, again, has been here majority of his life, and this administration detained somebody who actively has roots here in Charlotte, has lived here his whole life in Charlotte, and still they didn't care. They didn't even let me present his legal paperwork that we had from his lawyer. I went to the ICE office in Tyvola to physically come up with like the paperwork that I had from his lawyer saying, like, hey, this person has an application in the system. Like, there's no reason for him to be detained. They didn't even let me give him that. Within 24 hours, Oscar was already in Atlanta. In No, sorry, not Atlanta, in Stewart's facility in Georgia.
I mean, they move
So
them
that kind of
fast.
gives you like a
I bet
scope
there
of
are
like,
people that are going to hear what you say and say, "Well, this makes America safer," you know. And it's like, how does it make America
the,
safer when you have somebody here who's been
that's
here for 24 years? You know, I'd love for you to hear in your own
that
words.
that's what frustrates me too, like how, and you know, like, I'm not saying that I'm the most educated person in the world. Like, I know that there's still stuff that I myself need to be educated on, but how can you just sit here and think that that's okay? You know, like, that's not okay. Like, this, and again, the stuff like this has happened in the past. Like, history repeats itself all the time. Like, and I hate to bring up like stuff like this, but like, once upon a time they were taking Jews out of their homes without a warrant or anything like that, and they were going through something similar to this. Maybe not exactly the same, but it's like the fact that we've seen this before. where we've seen an administration go into communities and just take people from the street with because of what? Because of their race, their religion, whatever it may be. Like I just that just doesn't sit right with me. And I feel like
We hear the
people who
example
just
of Jews all the time, but it happened with Japanese Americans in California as well. You know,
exactly,
some of these
exactly,
places that are
exactly.
being used as warehouses sit on old sites of internment camps of Japanese Americans. It is literally, and not just figuratively, but it is literally history repeating itself.
No, it is, and it's sad, and I know that majority of the attention is with the Hispanic community and with the Latin community, but I've spoken with Oscar himself while he's in there, and he's made it aware that it's not just Latinos in there, it's a lot of Africans, it's people from all sorts of places around the world. It's not just Latinos. I mean, yes, this administration is solely well, what seems to be targeting Hispanics is their a majority target, but it's not just them. It's everybody.
Here a little bit because the co-worker's gonna be coming here to pick up.
Please just say bye, please, just in case. I don't know what's going
He's hearing you.
on.
Say something right there. He's hearing you.
No,
All right, that's it, man.
that's not right, bruh. Y'all wrong for that shit, bruh.
ID with you.
No, I didn't bring my ID with me.
Okay. How about passenger here?
I have my ID, yeah.
Okay. See identification, please. I'm looking for somebody that's in the same vehicle. Okay. So I need to identify you guys.
I'm gonna step out. I'm not gonna do anything.
No, stay in the car for now, please. Thank you.
We'll make you as comfortable as we can. Okay. Listen, do you have any kids here? No. No.
Wait, where are you guys taking him?
Hey,
Can I at least know where you're taking him? Who can I call?
We're gonna take him to the Charlotte Immigration Office. It's on Tyvola. Okay. There's no visitation there, so I wouldn't waste your time.
So what do I do? Wait, can I say goodbye at least?
Give me a second. Give me a second.
Louis, give us a second for right now, okay? We'll give you a second.
Yep.
I'm gonna stay here a little bit because the co-worker's gonna be coming here to pick
Can I
up.
please just say bye, please, just in case. I don't know what's going
He's hearing you.
on.
Say something right there. He's hearing you.
No,
All right, that's it, man.
that's not right, bruh. Y'all wrong for that shit, bruh.
Inside.
So there's definitely some sort of disconnect, just like discrimination between the English speaking people who are in there and the ones who cannot speak English. So Oscar has said himself that there's been many times where he has to step in and translate for these other people who are in there who don't speak English. I can only imagine, like, people like our fathers, our grandfathers, our brothers, or anybody that you can think that's in it that does not speak English. It sucks. Like, number one, that's a lack of communication to the detainee. How can they know what you're saying if you're not explaining to them what they're saying? And it comes down to stuff like medication. Like, Oscar says that in the water that they drink, they put some sort of medication. He doesn't want to say, he thinks it might be like an antidepressant or something like that. And I
How
asked
is
him,
he
like,
certain about
how does he
that?
know? And he says that, well, I'll have to ask him how he knows that, but he says that he got that information from one of the other detainees that were in there, which he says he kind of believes because when they drink the water after dinner or lunch or stuff like that, he feels like a lot of them end up feeling a little sleepy or a little drowsy, and that there also may be anti, how do I say it, arousal medication, like,
Okay.
so to help them not get, you know,
Yeah. Aroused
and again,
or
I don't know how
feel-
they communicate that.
What?
I'm not sure how they're
I'm not.
communicating that with people in there. Again, I'll have to confirm with Oscar, but
Sure.
with his own body can kind of confirm that when he doesn't drink the water, he does feel different than when he does drink the water.
So even these
So
just
there's definitely
anecdotal
something
stories.
going on in there.
Yeah, I mean, even just like
Even
the
if it's like
stories.
antidepressants or stuff like that, I feel like that's something that needs to be discussed with the people in there. But again, how can you when most of those people in there do not speak English? how could you describe to them that what they're drinking is a medication that is helping them feel better or stop them from feeling something, you know? That doesn't make any sense to me either as well.
I mean, we'll certainly follow up with steward detention and put a question in, to respond to these allegations and claims. This is the first I'm hearing of anything like this. I thought you were going to say brown drinking water or disgusting water. We've heard that of people being denied drinking water in other facilities, but this is totally different from what you're describing here.
Yes, and again, like I'm not in there. This is just stuff coming from Oscar himself and from what he's heard from other detainees, and even like, to an extent, like these correctional officers that are in there, some of them disclose a little more information than they should. So I feel like in that aspect, that's a lack of, what would be in the word for that, supervision over the enforcement officers in there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I don't know, but I mean, when you're in there, there's nothing else you can do but just hear what's going on around you, and the word spreads fast in there, So I mean, he definitely says that they try to stay together for sure. The community and the people who are in there, helping each other out, looking for each other, like just being there for each other. Because Oscar himself has had several instances where he's had some detainees who've been there for a while look out in small ways, as even like giving him a bowl that he can use to get water, or a spoon, or just food in general, because it's kind of hard to get stuff in there as well.
We say solo el pueblo salva al pueblo in Spanish, only the people will save each other.
Right.
And that's kind of what it comes down to. And what I've seen it come down to is people helping each other, individuals stepping up, whether they're impacted like you or not. And I want to pick up on something that you had told me even prior to this, when Charlotte's Web was happening. I mean, you and Oscar were out there on the front lines demonstrating, despite his legal status, despite the risk that it was to you guys, because you really believe, I mean, he really is so proud to be an American. And I'd just love for you to speak on this, Luis.
I'm sorry, you sound a little choppy. I'll make sure you can hear me. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, no problem. I just would love for you to speak on, he was out there demonstrating, you were out there demonstrating, even though the risk to his potential deportation, he's in custody now. But I think, to me, that showed just how much he cared about this, that he was willing to put himself in harm's way. And I would just love for you to speak on it.
Yeah, so I mean, like everybody here in Charlotte knew, last year when the ICE raids and stuff like that were at an all-time high, I feel like, honestly, like it was a really big turnaround in the community. I feel like we all came together and united, and we all showed out. Like me and Oscar were there almost every single day there was a protest. And like you said, like he was there despite knowing that, in spite of knowing that he is himself not legal, he was still there in the front lines protesting, and he was proud of it too. And Oscar is a very, 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 very proud to be here in America. And I mean, you ask him, he's an American. Like, I mean, the only thing that does, like I said, the only thing that doesn't make him an American is it's literally just that he wasn't born here. He was just brought here at a young age, but everything else makes him an American. Like I said, he speaks English. He went to school here. He has his friends here, has his family here, everything, his whole life here. Like, if I don't know, like even here in Charlotte, like the community, just like, again, like the outreach and like the support that we've gotten, it's been just amazing. It kind of shows like everybody out there, like people know who he is. Like people know he's part of the community. People know that like this isn't like just somebody who just randomly got snatched up or has just been sitting idly by. Like, no, this is somebody who's actively been part of the community. So to me, like, I don't know, like I don't know how much more American you can get. Like I don't know. I'm very proud of my heritage as well. I'm very proud of his, but we're both very proud to be Americans. At the end of the day, like just because you're born here not born here doesn't mean you're an American or not. I
know plenty of people who are born here who give two shits about this country, man. And then there's people who come here from far, far away, and they love this country more than anything, and I mean, I hear so much trash talking about our education system, right? Who still believes in our education system? Immigrants. Who wants to come here for a better life? Immigrants, and be able to get access to our education system. It's, I don't know, man. One of the things I was really curious about when I came across your story is I think there are so many people, they hear the officials and they say, hey, it's over. We're pulling out of Minneapolis. We're pulling out of Charlotte. It's not over. Things don't end. The consequences still happen, right? Families like yours continue to get ripped apart. And so I would love for you to speak on that and maybe even send a message to people that are watching us or will see this in Minneapolis. And what do you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, anywhere, Charlotte, Minneapolis,
Los
anywhere
Angeles.
where that ICE finds, Los Angeles, Texas, any city that finds himself under attack with ICE, I feel like if Charlotte, as small and mighty as we are, can overcome and come together and organize and be there for each other and do all this, like I feel like these bigger cities like Minneapolis, Chicago, Austin, Los Angeles, Atlanta, all these like big cities, like you guys can do it too, like community helps, community matters. I feel like uniting together as a front and just kind of spreading the awareness too, like educating people. I feel like there's so many ignorant people out there who just don't really understand how the system works. Even if it's innocent bigotry, it's still bigotry at the end of the day. And I feel like educating and just being verbal and just telling people anything, like a repost, a share, a like, you might think that doesn't matter, but it does. Even down to like, and I hate to get political, but voting, know who represents you, hit the polls, like I'm so tired of hearing this from the younger generation that my vote doesn't matter. It does matter. It does.
And if your voting didn't matter, there wouldn't be old, rich white people that would be trying so hard to keep you from voting and redrawing the districts and lines and try. I mean, it's just, of course your vote matters. Of course your vote matters.
It sucks, and I witnessed it myself. And I even get chills talking about this because my good friend JD, he ran for city council for district, I believe it was District 4, District 5. Sorry, JD, did I not get that right? If you're watching this, but his community, my friends, like we all just came out, supported him, did everything in our power to get this man represented because we wanted a gay Latino in the city council in Charlotte. And he won by what was it, 32 votes? 32 votes. And you want to know how many of our personal friends went out to vote? I believe it was like 37 or 38 of our personal friends who went out to vote for him. So if like I said, talking about this just gives me chills because the small elections matter. The city council, the sheriff, the senator, like small stuff like this, the small battles are what leads to the bigger ones. So when people say
glad
like
you said that. There's a new mayor of Roswell right now. Less than 800 votes. And he's a young guy, young black mayor of Roswell. And that's how it happens. That's how the differences are made at the local level.
Yes, they are. So just like, again, like community. Like I cannot express that enough. Like it's being out there, like reposting. Social media is such a powerful tool. We all have this little device in front of us and we don't understand how powerful it really is. Like when they first detained Oscar, I felt like the world was just coming down. Like I don't know what to do. Like I've never been through this. You hear stories and you just assume the worst, but like I refuse to just sit around and just not do something. I have this powerful tool. I can reach people. I can use whatever platform I may have, as small as it is, and communicate, put it out there, and to the people too. Like what I want to tell the people with the GoFundMe and stuff like that. And if you're scared to like repost or share or even make one, don't. People support this. People support all types of stories like this. People who care. People who want to see stories like ours succeed and make it through. Like, don't be shy to talk about it. Don't be scared to talk about it. I know it's scary. I know it hurts. I know it's sad. Like, I know. But the fight that we put out here for our families and friends, and even the community, is what matters for them in there. So, like, I just can't express that enough. Like, community, and just using the social media. Go out there, put yourself out there. Like, I promise you, somebody cares. Somebody cares. I promise you.
You touched on this a little bit, and I wanted to, ask you before you left. I was in El Paso, and I spoke to a Russian woman. There are a lot of Trump-supporting Russians in the United States.
Oh yeah, there is.
Maybe people aren't so surprised about that, but it's sort of interesting to hear this story that I'm about to tell you. This is a Russian woman, naturalized. She has a nail salon, according to this source, and she employs nothing but undocumented labor. Right. And yet she is in favor of what Trump and what President Trump and his administration are doing. And the way she justifies it is she says, well, the people that I have working for me that are illegal, they're different. And she says this to my friend, your husband who's in detention, he's different. But everybody else, you know, Trump is getting it right. The president is doing exactly what I voted for. Can you react to that? I mean, I know how I feel when I hear that. I want you, because you're literally have your best friend. I mean, what you said to me landed so much. Nobody is perfect, but to me, Oscar is perfect. You know, you love this man. He is your everything. And you hear stories like this of people who are making excuses. Like, what? I want you to react to that.
I mean, it really does anger me. Like, it really does anger me. And the things that I want to say to these people who say stuff like that, I know I can't say, because I know I'm a better person and I'll be the bigger person and not say those things. But to me, just like stuff like that is just like insane to hear. Like, again, like it comes down to just having human decency, you know, having a heart, like just like, I don't know, like I just like can't imagine how people just are okay with this. And it's like, just put yourself in that position. And they don't want to put themselves in that position. It's exactly, you can't even imagine that happening to you. And does that not like freak, like to an extent, does that not freak you out? You know, like, so again, like, I don't know, like I just want people to be educated. Like, that's the only thing that really I wish for them. You know, I can give my opinion and take theirs, and we can clash all day about it, but at the end of the day, it comes down to human morals. And if I don't care that you're a Republican, I don't care that you voted for Trump. That's your vote. That's your God-given right. That's your right as an American to vote for who you want to vote for. That's fine. But when it comes to a point that you start spreading bigotry and hate in a country that's made by immigrants, ran by immigrants, and you're probably your parents are probably immigrants. Like, that, to me, that's insane. You know, that's insane. That's insane. But hey, to each their own. You know, everybody is entitled to their own opinion. I just hope and pray and wish that you get educated on it and actually know what you're talking about, not just because you heard it from TikTok, because you heard it from Instagram, because Trump said it, because CNN said it. Fine. If you want to take all these different outsources, cool, but do your own research. You know, put yourself, like, do your own research. Again, we have this device, this powerful tool that you can get on and look this stuff up yourself instead of hearing it from Sally or Bob, who's trying to make a TikTok video because they're mad about the current situation in America.
Right.
What current situation in America?
You know, consider the source, man. Consider the source. You mentioned a GoFundMe before we let you go. How can we find it? How can people keep up with the story? We want to make sure we follow all the developments with Eric Castillo's story.
Yes. I mean, I'm very active on. I'm trying to be very active on Instagram now. For Oscar Story. I mean, not only for Oscar Story. Like, I feel like, you know, I've always been to an extent open about everything that's going on in the community, but when it happens to you personally and you get the opportunity to speak on it on platforms and actually speak for the ones who can't, I want to use that platform and use this opportunity to, like, speak up for my community, not just for Oscar, for everybody who's going through this. So with support for my Instagram, for Oscar's GoFundMe, anything like that, like, it's greatly appreciated. Like, the amount of support that we've gotten from this in so little time has been overwhelmingly. It's been such a blessing. Like, it's been such a blessing. And I refuse to get sad, and I refuse to cry and do these things. Like, people tell me, like, I should cry on the camera. I'm like, I'm not trying to sell a sob story here. I'm trying to get Oscar back here, you know, like,
you have to think exactly how you move. You know, people see through, right, all that disingenuous bullshit. And, you know, you have to be exactly who you are, and people will pick you up. And if you guys, I was looking at my phone there because we have, you know, we put together a small video report about that. You can see my ring light here in the reflection. It's on my social media. You could also figure out Luis's social media if you want. Luis, what is your social media? I know I tagged you in this here. It's, if you want to put it out there.
Yeah, my Instagram is Luis .plx.
That's right. Okay. Luis.plx. And I will be sharing his story. We also have a full write through on nickvalencianews.com. Luis, I know you had to turn your camera off for connectivity. We're sorry we couldn't see you for the last half of that, but we're really so grateful you took the time with us, man. I'll call you later, and just please keep me aware of what's going on. Anything we can do to amplify your story, we'll be here to do it.
Thank you, Nick. I really do appreciate you reaching out, and again, everybody's support. Like, I'm telling you, like, it means so much to me. Like, y'all are the reason. Anybody who supported is the reason why I'm still fighting and I'm still going ahead. And again, like, it's not just for Oscar; it's for everybody who's going through this exact same case. So, thank you very much, Nick. I appreciate it.
Luis, his partner, was just detained. And let me find this GoFundMe here. I want to put it up on the screen. It won't be too hard to find. And you guys have bared with me enough already so far. If I could just do this, I think I might be on my other phone. Let me do that because it's worth putting up on the screen just as we close out this show. And we'll recap a little bit about what we went through. But I think it's important for you guys to see this GoFundMe here. And here it is. As of yesterday, they had raised half of their goal. They're looking for $15,000. And as of yesterday, they had raised just over, what does that say? $7,800, close to $9,000. Okay, so let me put this up on the screen. Remove that. That was Luis. Image file. Let's see here. We'll open that up. And I think that should do it. Add to the stage. There we go. Bring Oscar home. And so what you're looking at there is his GoFundMe, and it is Bring Oscar Back Home, Zacarias Duque. He's put the GoFundMe together. And if you guys feel like donated, feel like you were compelled after hearing that heart-wrenching story, and I want to, I don't want to play that video again. It's pretty difficult to listen to, but if you guys want to know more details about, what happened with their case, the video of when they were pulled over is up on my social media right now. That wraps out the show, guys. We made it. First show solo, flying solo. Thank you guys. If you're watching on Facebook, love to see it. YouTube, Substack. I don't think we're able to broadcast live on Instagram today. I'm still going to try to figure that out. Got some follow-up questions, but really just so grateful for anyone watching it on replay, and to our Spotify listeners, people watching it wherever you get your podcasts. That's super cool. I always forget that our show gets broadcast out over there as well. So we had a great show here. We talked to Rob Held, immigration attorney, who I went into Camp East Montana with. Shows back up days later and is denied entry because they say you brought in Nick Valencia. Never asked me if I was a journalist. I didn't do any of my own reporting. I just recapped what I saw and what I translated. No one has reached out to me, by the way, at Camp East Montana. And if you want to, if you're watching it, I'm easy to find, Nick at nickvalencianews.com. Yeah, but I got in and I saw what I saw, and this indication to me that they're trying to keep me from going in. I believe it too. It's clearly, just another example of their lack of transparency. I'm sure they'll push back on me for that, but come on. I don't know. Part of me, it's like finds it comical. I think maybe I should be a little bit more pissed off, but part of me is also, what the fuck took you so long? You knew exactly, or maybe you didn't. I don't know. I wasn't hiding who I was. We followed up with Rob, and then we pivoted to Luis Duque Betancourt. His partner, his fiance, Oscar Castillo, was detained by federal immigration agents last Wednesday in Charlotte. This is after the end of Charlotte's Web. Things still continue there. The operation is over. The consequences remain. And we continue to focus on what happens after the videos end. After those shaky cell phone videos and those agents in plain clothes and the masks, we've all seen those videos out there. What happens after it ends? They get put into a pipeline and the meter starts running, not just figuratively, but literally. Because as I've mentioned time and time again, the immigration system is deliberately broken because there are a lot of people, well, maybe not as many as you think, but there are people that make hand over fist money, dollars, well, I don't know, plata, lo que quieres decir, man. There are people that get rich off of you and me and our tax dollars, people double dipping. Just in the same years you were told there wasn't enough money for the schools or to build a new part of the school, or not enough money for the city budget. There's always enough money to fill another bed. Think about that. Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you so much for sticking around and sticking through our technical stuff. I don't need to apologize about that shit, man. This isn't a polished show. I'm not a polished person. I'm just trying to meet the moment, man, because there's a moment to meet. Thank you, everybody, for helping us make truth go viral. I got a meeting coming up. That's what that means. And as always, have a great day on purpose. Let's see if I can play this outro music. Can I do that? Let me try this. How do I do this? I don't know. I'm going to try though. Stay with me. Okay.